It started with whispers. Not actual whispers, mind you, but those quiet moments when something feels off, like a picture frame tilted just slightly enough to catch your eye. Looking back now, I see those moments for what they were. The first tremors before an earthquake that would shatter my world. Lily and I had built what I thought was an unshakable foundation. 15 years of marriage, a home in the suburbs, and enough shared memories to fill volumes. We met in our senior year of college. She was the girl who always sat in the front row of our literature class, while I was the guy perpetually running late with coffee stains on my notes. Sometimes I still catch myself smiling at how she used to save me a seat, even though she knew I'd probably miss the first 10 minutes of lecture. But lately, those memories have turned bitter. It's funny how betrayal can recolor even your brightest moments. The first real sign came after I returned from a business trip to Boston. 3 days away shouldn't change much, but when I walked through our front door that Friday evening, something felt different. The house still smelled like her favorite vanilla candles, and her keys still hung on the hook by the door. But there was a heaviness in the air I couldn't explain. Tom's jacket draped over our living room chair didn't help matters. Tom, my best friend since college, the guy who'd been my best man, who'd helped us move into this very house. Seeing his jacket there shouldn't have bothered me. He was always dropping by, always welcome in our home, but something about it felt wrong this time. Lily was distant that night, her usual warmth replaced by something cooler, more calculated. When I tried to hug her, she returned it mechanically, like someone going through the motions of a familiar dance without hearing the music. Her eyes never quite met mine, always sliding just past my shoulder, focusing on something I couldn't see. "How was your trip?" she asked, but her voice lacked its usual curiosity. She didn't wait for my answer before turning back to her phone. I tried to shake off the unease, told myself I was being paranoid. But that night, lying in bed beside her, I felt miles away from the woman I'd married. The space between us on the mattress might as well have been an ocean. The next morning, I decided to run some errands, anything to escape the suffocating tension at home. Without really planning to, I found myself driving past Tom's apartment building. I hadn't intended to stop, but something made me pull into the parking lot. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe it was just the culmination of all those little doubts I'd been pushing away. That's when I saw it. Lily's car, parked in Tom's spot. The same spot where we'd all gathered countless times for barbecues and football games. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, but I couldn't look away. I sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, watching the building's entrance like a man waiting for his own execution. When she finally emerged, the sight of her knocked the breath from my lungs. She looked happy, lighter somehow. Her cheeks were flushed, and she had this small smile playing at her lips, the kind of smile I used to pride myself on being able to put there. Tom followed her out, and I watched as they shared a quick kiss. So casual it was clear this wasn't their first. In that moment, I felt something inside me crack. It wasn't just the betrayal of my wife. It was the destruction of my entire worldview. Tom had been my brother in everything but blood. We'd shared dreams, secrets, failures, and triumphs. Now I wondered how long they'd been laughing at me behind my back. But the real gut punch came later that week, when I was searching through our attic for some old tax documents. Instead, I found a box of my father's old letters. As I read through them, my hands trembling, I discovered a truth that shook me to my core. My father had cheated on my mother years before I was born. The letters detailed his guilt, his shame, and ultimately, my mother's decision to forgive him. Digging deeper into family history revealed more painful truths. My grandfather had done the same to my grandmother. It was like discovering a curse that ran through my bloodline, a legacy of betrayal passed down through generations. When I finally confronted Lily, it wasn't just about her affair. It was about all of it. The weight of generations of infidelity pressing down on my shoulders. We sat in our living room, the same room where we'd hosted countless dinner parties with Tom, where we'd celebrated anniversaries and birthdays. "How long?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. She didn't try to deny it. Maybe she was tired of lying, or maybe she saw in my eyes that I already knew everything. 6 months, she whispered. staring at her hands folded in her lap. Why Tom? The question burned in my throat. Of all people, why him? It just happened, she said, as if that explained everything. We never meant to. Save it. I cut her off. Do you know what I found in the attic? I told her about the letters, about my father, about my grandfather. It's like some sick family tradition. I laughed bitterly. Generation after generation, we build something beautiful, just to watch it burn. She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. We can fix this, she pleaded. People make mistakes. Your mother forgave your father, and look how well that turned out, I said. A lifetime of doubt, of wondering if every late night at the office was really what he said it was. Lily left that night to stay with her sister. I spent the next week alone in our house, surrounded by memories that felt tainted. Every photo on our walls seemed to mock me. There was Tom and me at our college graduation, Lily and me on our wedding day, with Tom standing beside us beaming, happy moments that now felt like elaborate lies. I found myself drawn back to those old family letters, reading them over and over. My grandfather's words echoed my father's, and now I was living their story. Was this my inheritance? A legacy of broken trust and shattered homes. Lily's been calling, texting, begging for a chance to talk. Tom tried once too, but hung up when I answered. Part of me wants to hear their explanations, their excuses. A bigger part knows no explanation could ever be enough. The real question keeping me awake at night isn't about them, it's about me. Can I break this cycle? Should I follow my mother's example and forgive, knowing the doubt might never leave? Or do I walk away and try to build something new, something untainted by this family legacy? I sit in our empty house, surrounded by the ghosts of 3 generations of betrayal, and I wonder, what would you do? Would you try to rebuild from the ashes, or would you accept that some things, once broken, can never be truly fixed?